お前は俺にとっての新たな光だ!
They called you a traitor, a murderer, a monster who killed his entire clan. Even your own little brother wanted you dead, but no one asked why. No one saw the child who was forced to become a weapon, the boy who held a nation's secret on his back and chose disgrace over war, silence over truth. This is not the story of a villain. This is the story of a boy who gave up everything just to keep the people he loved from tearing each other apart. And by the time they finally learned the truth, you were already gone. But today, we're going to tell it. Itachi Uchiha was just a child, born into a clan already at war with itself. He was 4 years old when he stepped onto his first battlefield. Not in training, not in theory. A real battlefield where the screams were human and the blood didn't wash off. He didn't cry, he didn't scream, he just watched. And from that moment, something inside him went quiet. By 5, he was studying war strategy like bedtime stories. By 6, they called him a genius. By 7, he graduated the academy. At 8, he activated the Sharingan. By 10, he was serving in the ANBU, doing missions most Jonin would flinch at. While other kids were learning how to throw shuriken, Itachi was already calculating political assassinations. While Sasuke played with toys, Itachi played with consequences. But for all his medals and missions, he was still a boy, trying to protect a family that didn't trust the village and a village that didn't trust his bloodline. They called him a prodigy, but what they really meant was expendable, obedient, useful. And in the quiet moments between missions, he began to see the cracks, the tension, the whispers of rebellion in his clan, the fear in the elders' eyes, and the truth no one wanted to say out loud. Something was coming, and it was going to be bloody. Itachi loved his little brother more than anything in the world, but he also knew the world had no love for boys like them. So while Sasuke saw a peaceful home, Itachi saw a ticking bomb. And when the time came to choose between the family he was born into and the village he was sworn to protect, they didn't ask twice. They handed him a sword and told him to use it. You didn't wake up one day and decide to kill your family. That choice was planted, slowly, carefully, by people who smiled at you in meetings and whispered behind your back in council chambers. The Uchiha were being cornered, accused, isolated. But while the clan whispered of rebellion, the village had already made its move. They didn't send ANBU to spy on your father. They sent you, 16 years old, a child trained to be a weapon. They praised your loyalty, then asked for proof. And that proof was a massacre. You knew what they were really asking. Spill your own blood so they wouldn't have to stain their hands. Let the Uchiha die so the village could live. Let your name carry the sin so theirs could stay clean. And you said yes, not because you wanted to, but because no one else could survive it. You gave them everything, your clan, your parents, your reputation, and when it was done, you stood alone in silence while Konoha slept peacefully, never knowing the cost. They told the world you were a traitor, a murderer, a monster, but the truth is, you didn't betray your clan. You were betrayed by everyone. After the massacre, you didn't disappear. You were banished, not by exile, but by narrative. You became the villain in your brother's bedtime story, the shame of the Uchiha name, a missing nin hunted by the same village you once protected. But the worst part? You agreed to it. You let the world hate you because somewhere deep down you still believed it was the only way to protect Sasuke. You joined the Akatsuki not for power, not for chaos, but because it was the only place that would take someone like you, a killer with no country, a ghost in shinobi skin. You wore their cloak, shared their table, smiled at their madness, all while feeding Konoha information in secret. No one knew. No one could know. That was the deal. That was the curse. And while Sasuke grew up chasing strength, chasing revenge, chasing you watched from the shadows, making sure no one else took him from you first. Not Orochimaru, not the Leaf, not even his own hatred. You were never allowed to grieve, never allowed to explain. You couldn't mourn the people you killed or hold the brother you saved. You just kept moving, mission after mission, lie after lie, hoping that one day when it was all over, Sasuke would understand why you chose to become the thing he hated most. But deep down, you feared he never would. You thought dying would free you, that once it was over, once Sasuke had his revenge, you could finally rest. But pain doesn't end with death. It echoes, it mutates, it spreads. When Sasuke killed you, he didn't feel peace. He felt confusion, emptiness, rage without a target. And that rage, that hole you left behind, became fertile ground for manipulation. Toby told him everything, twisted your truth into a tool, turned your sacrifice into a weapon, and pointed it right back at the village you died to protect. The boy you raised in silence became the next Itachi, a new prodigy shaped by war, betrayal, and grief. And just like you, he chose revenge over healing. You tried to break the cycle, but in the end, your silence created another version of you, one who now wanted to burn down everything you tried to save. The irony? You could have told him everything. You could have sat across from him once, just once and said, "I'm sorry," but you didn't. You thought protecting the truth would protect him from the pain. Instead, it multiplied it. And now your ghost is everywhere, haunting the village, haunting your brother, haunting the legacy of the Uchiha name. You gave your life to end a war, but all you did was start another one. You were dead. And yet, they brought you back, reanimated like a puppet, stripped of your agency, forced to fight in a war you never wanted, used, once again, by the same system that destroyed you. Even in death, they couldn't let you rest. And as you stood there, facing Sasuke again, resurrected in the middle of chaos, it hit you. Everything you did wasn't enough. The sacrifice, the silence, the self-erasure. Sasuke still burned with hatred. The village still walked in shadows, and peace was still just another illusion. But this time, you did something you never had the courage to do in life. You told him the truth. No riddles, no lies, just honesty. You let him see the pain behind your choices, the fear behind your silence, and the love that drove it all. You didn't beg for forgiveness. You didn't expect redemption. You just explained fully, finally. And as you placed your hand on his head one last time, you gave him the only gift you had left: freedom from your mistakes. Not a command, not a mission, a choice. And for the first time in your entire existence, you weren't carrying the burden alone. You told the truth. You gave your brother the choice. But even that wasn't enough to break the curse, because Sasuke didn't heal. He redirected. He inherited your pain, your burden, your sense of duty, but not your restraint. While you tried to preserve the village from the shadows, he chose to challenge it head on. You protected the system that failed you. He wanted to destroy it, and that's the cost of your legacy. Even in peace, your name remains a contradiction. To some, you're a hero who died for the village. To others, you're a murderer who wiped out his own bloodline. You exist in blurred lines, hailed and hated, pitied and praised. A myth no one can fully understand because the truth you died to protect was too twisted to explain. Even in memory, you're still performing, still playing the role they assigned you. You gave up your voice so others could shape your story. And now that you're gone, they still speak for you. The war ended. The world moved on, but you're frozen in time. Not a man, not a villain, not even a martyr, just a silence no one knows how to fill. You were never meant to live long. That was clear from the moment they gave you a sword instead of a childhood. But what hurts most is that even in death, even after everything, you never got what you truly deserved: understanding. Your brother carries your legacy, but not your peace. The village speaks your name, but still hides your story. And the shinobi world, it keeps repeating the same cycle you tried to break, using children as soldiers, calling it peace. There's a statue of you now, buried among the legends of Konoha. But statues don't heal wounds, and yours was never physical. It was the loneliness of knowing you were right, and still had to be hated for it. It was the grief of watching your brother grow up without you, while you were still alive. It was the silence of dying in disgrace, so others could live in denial. You saved the world, but you died alone, and no one, not even Sasuke, can give that back. Itachi Uchiha gave everything: his name, his future, his soul, for a village that could never admit it needed saving. He was a hero forced to wear a villain's mask, a brother who chose love through sacrifice, not applause. But that's the tragedy of it all. The world remembers the peace, not the price, and never the person who paid it.